guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. He's Adam Cleary from WhatCulture, and we are here with your news. Of course, all of today's wrestling news kind of fades into insignificance with the ongoing allegations that have been doing the rounds on Twitter, alongside, of course, the speaking out hashtag for the past 24 or so hours. We've done a separate news story dealing with all of those allegations, and make sure you go and check that out on WhatCulture Wrestling's YouTube channel, of course. But looking ahead to some of the wrestling stories we've got to deal with today, a SmackDown superstar could be making the leap to Monday Night Raw. A story about a next match that was set to go down with The Undertaker at Super Showdown. And Fox officials are pissed off with Jeff Hardy's piss.
Plus, you want to know where Bianca Belair has been for the last few weeks? I am going to tell you. And I also have that Charlotte Championship match you've all been asking for.
Oh, goody. This is the news. So yes, let's start with that big story regarding a SmackDown superstar making a move to Monday Night Raw. Of course, we saw AJ Styles go in the opposite direction recently. And now, according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, Dolph Ziggler could be the man they got in exchange for former world champion AJ Styles. Yeah, very interesting this. As we mentioned, when the AJ Styles things happened, it was for a trade to be named later. Basically, bollocks, we got that rule where people can appear on other shows, but we don't want to waste it because we've for some reason said we can only do 4 a year. Anyway, yes, it is Ziggler going to be heading in the opposite way to the red brand. Of course, that would seemingly end the story he's had with Otis, Mandy, and of course with Sonya Deville, which I've quite enjoyed. And it's interesting to see where they go with this. Not exactly the big name swap that you would expect for someone like AJ Styles for Raw.
Yeah, that's a very liberal use of the word interesting, I think. If it is true that indeed Raw and SmackDown are going to swap Dolph Ziggler for AJ Styles, I think that's probably the biggest lesson you're ever going to see in how important it can be to keep your receipts when you do these things. But as you say, Dolph Ziggler is coming off the back of I don't want to sound like I'm dumping on the guy, but he's coming off the back of an all too rare, completely successful storyline, which was wrapped up nicely and didn't get confusing and didn't get convoluted. The Otis stuff, some of the best stuff he has done in a very long time. So I think if he does go to Raw, that should be good. He can build on that. He can do something else. Perhaps we can see another exciting Dolph Ziggler storyline where he tries to, I don't know, who's on Raw who's a bit like Mandy Rose. I'm sure he'll find somebody sooner or later. Yeah, this isn't exactly something that's going to get the fans' pulses racing, and I think it'll be more interesting to see what they do with him as opposed to whether or not he actually moves.
Yeah, I mean, speculation about whether or not he could head straight into a United States Championship feud, for example, with Apollo Crews. That could work, I suppose. It's on the one hand, I'm kind of disappointed because, like you say, it's been a great storyline with Otis and Mandy, and Otis and Mandy are kind of moving off and doing their own thing now, of course. But I really liked Dolph's sort of interactions with Sonya Deville, and I can't decide whether it's good that now Sonya Deville can just sort of break out on her own and just be the amazing Sonya Deville character that we've seen for the last 6 months, or bad because they had a really good chemistry.
I mean, that's your opinion. You can have it.
Yeah, not a great swapsies though, I think it's fair to say, for Monday Night Raw. But let's see, Dolph Ziggler heading to Monday Night Raw, potentially even for a big push.
I think you've absolutely hit your head this morning, mate, but the danger of doing all this too quick is that if you push too hard and you push too fast, people can sort of seem to not like you, and that is very true of Charlotte Flair at the moment. There's a big section of WWE's audience who are sick of Charlotte Flair, despite her very obviously being one of the most talented women, one of the most talented performers in the entire country. So talented, in fact, that when the news broke she was being given a title shot on Monday Night Raw this coming week, I initially went, ooh, I wonder what title that's going to be. But it is going to be against Asuka for her Raw Women's Championship, taking the number of title matches on this week's episode, Adam Wilborn, to 3, which naturally follows the word 2, so that was quite nice. The True Profits will be defending their titles against the Viking Raiders, and not only that, the Iconics will be winning the Women's SmackDown Championships from the Golden Role Models. But either way, Charlotte's match against Asuka has just been announced. Adam Wilborn, can you see another title change on the horizon on Monday?
No. It's going to be interrupted by Nia Jax, isn't it? It's blatantly going to be interrupted by Nia Jax. She, of course, had a rematch for the Raw Women's Championship after the match at Backlash went to a double count out. Oh, that was good. They had a rematch on Raw this past week. The referee, John Cone, got shoved and just decided, screw you, Nia Jax, I'm just going to fast count this. So now there's going to be a match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. There's no chance this match, in my opinion, goes to a finish. I reckon Nia Jax comes down, ruins the whole thing, and then presumably we get a triple threat match set up for Extreme Rules, which is good, I suppose. I think they're basically just killing time until they can do Asuka one-on-one with Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam, but they're also trying to pop a rating on Monday night. I'm glad to see, as you mentioned there, the Street Profits and Viking Raiders have finally realised, hey, you know what a good way to settle this beef we've got is? Maybe fight for the titles that we've got. Ridiculous. But as you mentioned there, the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships are going to be changing hands on Monday night. Bayley and Sasha defended them on Wednesday against Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. But Monday night, get ready for new champions, the Iconics!
I'm just going to let that ring out there for a second. I absolutely agree with you. This is, I'll be honest, the whole idea of having the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders settle this with a wrestling match feels a bit, what's the word? Underwhelming. I mean, we've just introduced a trash can monster, an extremely thirsty female referee, and they've done Olympic stuff. And is anything going to be solved by a wrestling match? Do I understand who was the better team simply because they're better wrestlers? I don't think I do. But speaking of the Street Profits, what a segue this is. You may be wondering what's happened to Bianca Belair since she was called up to the main roster around WrestleMania time. And the answer is, they haven't forgotten about her. Creative just has nothing for her. You see, in the incredibly logical, joined-up thinking reality that is WWE, they called her up to put her with the Street Profits, then decided they wanted the Street Profits to do a load of wacky skits, and then decided they didn't want Bianca Belair to be in those wacky skits. So they're holding her back from this from the time being, so when that starts to wind down between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, there is so much saliva in my mouth right now, she will then be added back into the mix somehow. Now, quite why on earth you would bring somebody up to be the third part of a team composition and then come up with a plan for two members of that team that you don't want the third person to be involved in is simultaneously incredibly confusing, but also in the context of this company, not at all surprising.
Yeah, I got, especially because this isn't just, who's that? It's just Montez Ford, so they're off. It's Bianca Belair. She had like an amazing showing at the Royal Rumble. People were like, wow, what a year this is going to be for her. And then they sort of went, you flirted a bit with the titles, and then just see you later, Monday Night Raw, let's get you on commentary, let's get you shouting at your other half because couples have to argue because they're not concentrating on the Viking Raiders. You take them seriously. And then the next week the Viking Raiders are doing bloody carpool karaoke with sodding turkey legs. But right, even if you went, bollocks, we've called her up and now we kind of want to focus on, decathlons and golf and bowling and what have you. I mean, just have a wrestle then. Just have a wrestle. Her and Shayna Baszler are inexplicably off my TV when Charlotte Flair is shoved down our throats on every single show and Nia Jax keeps getting title shots. What's going on?
I don't know. I have absolutely... This is the thing. You were like, everybody, Matt Riddle's going to be champion inside a year. Is he?
No, I said he should.
What are you basing that on?
But yeah, insane that they're just like, well, thanks for transferring to the red brand, but got anything you want to do?
No, any jokes?
Yeah, like, honestly, just put her out there. Like, I realise that it's just kind of spinning the wheels for her and Shayna Baszler, but if you just
spin the wheels then? The wheels are incredibly entertaining when they're being spun.
Exactly. The fact that they're going, so we haven't seen on TV for a while, Natalya. Let's get her out there as a tag team with Liv Morgan and then have Natalya and Lana complaining backstage on the thing saying, you think you've got it tough? I'm bloody stuck with Liv Morgan. She's crap, isn't she? And then, oh no, I've got it tough. My husband doesn't want to see me anymore. Oh my God, just put two of the best female wrestlers you've got in the company on TV. Shall we move on, Adam Cleary?
If you can.
I'll try. Let's talk a little bit about a potentially nixed match for The Undertaker. Adam Cleary, do you remember The Undertaker versus Goldberg at Super Showdown?
I do. Goldberg and The Undertaker won't, but I do.
Were you doing the stream for that?
I was doing the stream for that. See, this is you are cursed because every time you and Nicholas do a stream together, it's probably one of the top 10 worst shows WWE has ever done. However, I bring the magic and the crack, and every time I seem to do a show, something just happens. Like, the last two I've done, right? Goldberg beat Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship, and Goldberg dropped Undertaker on his head.
Yeah. And the one you did when it was not a mad Saudi show was was the Rumble, where we had the madness of Drew McIntyre and Edge. So, yeah, probably put you on more streams, you would be making more sense. But anyway, regarding that match...
You can't afford me on streams is the problem.
Regarding that match, apparently, Elias has revealed that it was supposed to be him versus The Undertaker at Super Showdown. We were there, of course, in attendance the Raw after WrestleMania in 2019 when The Undertaker came out and attacked Elias. They then subsequently faced off in a six-man tag match at Madison Square Garden. And following the latest edition of The Last Ride, Elias posted on Instagram announcing that it was meant to happen in Saudi Arabia, him versus The Undertaker. Shortly after this segment, he said, "Everything about this night was electric. Things changed." He wrote that in caps, so I shouted it. "Myself and the dead man have crossed paths multiple times since I've been here, and I hope it's not the last. There is a great story to be told both on screen and behind the curtain." Now, Adam Cleary, as much as I assume that this would just be Undertaker versus Rusev all over again, it would have been better than versus Goldberg.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Like, that Undertaker-Goldberg match is still getting talked about today. It still feels like an important thing that happened. It was probably, I think if you look back in about 5 or 10 years, that match is going to be considered one of the most important events in WWE history because it really exposed the Saudi shows for what they were, and it exposed this sort of false market of bringing back these legends, no matter what shape they were in or what stage of their career or what story they had to tell, and just putting them in a ring, and it was guaranteed to be a draw. I think if the realization hadn't been made during that DX Brothers of Destruction match, where, let's face it, the realization was made, it was at the point where it's like, wow, it's not even just a case of creatively this is bad, it's not even completely safe. And I think you'd be unlikely to see a match like that ever happening again as a result of that match. Whereas Undertaker versus Elias, do whatever they want after that, nothing's going to go wrong.
Yeah, fair point, you know. I still remember watching that Super Showdown, seeing that match happen and going, what the bloody hell's going on? I better see what Phil and Cleary make of this on the stream. You two were just like, what was that, sorry?
Absolutely creased up.
Anyway, let's do our final news story of the day surrounding last week's SmackDown. You may remember Jeff Hardy chucked a big old cup of piss in Sheamus's face. Well, Fox officials apparently not happy with WWE for that segment. Now, that aired live on the East Coast, but not on the West Coast. They were not happy, basically, with the content of the entire segment. They cut to a commercial break, basically, just before Hardy, you know, chucked his own urine in Sheamus's face.
Wasn't his own urine, though, was it?
Yeah. Apparently, Fox officials decreed that the angle violated their standards and practices. This is according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, which is why they put a commercial break right before the spot, so West Coast viewers wouldn't have to see it. I quite like this segment. What did you think of it all?
WWE's gross out stuff is quite bad, in my opinion. Robert Stone was sick in the ring to cause a distraction finish for Xia Li and Aaliyah. But the thing is, I don't mind it when it's actually used to further the story. And I didn't actually mind the Robert Stone being sick thing, because I did kind of get why that worked in the context of the match. The roll-up was terrible, but that's another story.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Hardy basically decanting an entire gallon of apple juice. Like, is anybody supposed to believe that's the content of his bladder? Like, into Sheamus's face was quite hokey, quite bad, quite like dying embers of the Attitude Era stuff, but am I now more invested in seeing this match as a result of him having wee dripping out of his eyes? I think I am, you know. And by that metric, it's been a success. Plus, I also want to say, you need to go watch it back with the volume turned all the way up, because the people in the crowd are hilarious. Like, they keep shouting at Sheamus, "What are you peeking for? What are you looking at it for?" When Hardy's... Yeah, it's good. Good.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it built to the match really well. Like you say, Sheamus has got the perfect hair, face and facial hair to have urine drip off it, supposedly, anyway. And yeah, Sheamus won in the end. I think he should probably be the next person. What are you drinking?
I've got a glass of my wee. I didn't have much this morning.
Okay.
By the way, that was another point. When you were watching the segment, did you watch that and think, wow, Jeff Hardy looks really dehydrated?
Yeah. I think my favourite takeaway from it all, though, was finding out that doctor that they hired for it all was like just a banter doctor who just like dabs on the haters or whatever it is on social media.
Dabs on the haters.
He's got some sort of thing. It's either that or he's like, oh, I've got a problem with D's. D's what? D's nuts. So it's all good stuff, really. Right, anyway, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get a question to us. Jake asked the first question
to
of the
Mr. and
day.
Mrs. Jake, son, Jake.
It's NXT related, so I thought you'd like this. Assuming whomever wins both championships in NXT then goes on to a feud with Karrion Kross, who would you like to see get utterly destroyed by Kross, Cole Gargano, Balor or Lee? And I'd love to know your thoughts on this triple threat followed by the winner takes all championship match.
I'll stop you there. What is going to happen is somebody, I suspect Keith Lee, will just retain that North American Championship. Then they will go through to the winner takes all match, which will be thrown out because Karrion Kross will destroy both people in that match. There is absolutely no way NXT is going to put both of its belt on the same person. Absolutely none at all. In fact, WWE hasn't done that full stop since, the Ultimate Challenge? I think I'm right in saying, not including the times they unified all the belts after they realised they had 47 of them after the invasion angle. If that match was actually going to be a real thing, if there was actually talk about them putting both belts on one person, that would be a long-running storyline, paying off at a big takeover show. It would be one of the most important moments in NXT history. It's not something they're going to give away for free on television. Karrion Kross will, as I said in Ups and Downs, murder shag both men in that match and have it thrown out. And to that end, he'd be facing Adam Cole, I would imagine.
Balor's winning both belts. That's what I'm saying. Should we have a pasty bet just to make it interesting? Just because I'm bored, really.
Right,
Stuck at home.
Come on, shake my hand.
Pasty
Greg
bet.
is back open, actually. So
I know. I'm so happy. So yeah, I'll inevitably be buying Adam Cleary a sausage roll in a few weeks.
What's the pasty bet? That Finn Balor will win both the belts, or the winner takes all match will be thrown out by Karrion Kross?
I don't know. How confident are you that Karrion Kross is going to get involved?
Literally 100%.
Okay, I'll just say there will be a definitive winner of that winner takes all match.
Okay.
I hope it's Balor, because I'd love to see Balor versus Kross, but I'm inclined to agree with you, but it makes it interesting.
There is and there isn't a definitive winner in the winner takes all match.
There we go. Second question today comes from Drew Sukoff. I hope I've got that surname right.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Who do you think would be the best person to take the AEW Championship off Mox? For me, it's Orange Cassidy because of how many fans he draws, says Drew. Who do you reckon?
I don't think... This is the thing. Wrestlers like Orange Cassidy are a great draw, and we've even seen they get a bump in the television ratings when Orange Cassidy's on screen, much to the disbelief of people who hate that kind of gimmick. But I don't know if wrestlers like that necessarily benefit themselves from having a belt or even benefit the belt. Like, some wrestlers are incredible with a prop. Like The Miz, for example, I think is one of the greatest champion wrestlers you get because he really adds so much more to the belt he's got. But at the same time, a lot of wrestlers don't need a prop. They don't need a gimmick when they themselves are the prop. They are the gimmick. Like, Orange Cassidy isn't more appealing if he's the champion because Orange Cassidy is just Orange Cassidy. Don't get me wrong. It's not that you should never do these things. It's just that I think for a company still as burgeoning in its lifespan as AEW, you really need to think long and hard about the early lineage of all these championships, and having like a quick 2-week, oh, isn't this funny, Orange Cassidy being champion is not something you want to do at this stage. In fact, I would struggle to name any single world champion who's sort of there as a bit of like can you believe it, this guy won, which hasn't in the long term harmed the company. I love Orange Cassidy. I think he's a great contender for a TNT championship, a tag team championship, anything, but that top belt, putting him in there amongst your Jerichos, your Moxleys, you would imagine down the line, your Omegas, your Pacs, people like that, I don't know if it's a good idea.
For me, I'd have MJF be the champion because I think he's amazing and be unbearable as world champion, especially if you won it at like All Out, for example. And also, heel champions work really well in certain promotions, and I think AEW would be great just setting people up for MJF to screw them out of it, and eventually, who knows, have Cody win it off him. I'm booking far too far in advance. Final question today comes from David Lynch, who says... AEW playing a smart game with Cody in the TNT Championship by having it defended every week. We'll see him worn down week in, week out, overcoming injuries until someone takes advantage down the line, brackets MJF, to take the title off him.
It's a very simple answer to this. I think you can just shorten that question. I think AEW being very smart, full stop, with a lot of what they're doing. The Michaels have gone on at depth about the amount of nuance and the amount of intricacies in their various storylines. I just think everything they're doing feels... You know, where we've just talked about Bianca Belair coming up to the main roster and them not knowing immediately what to do with her, so just basically having a not work. You don't tend to get stuff like that. It's not that you don't get creative mistakes in AEW. There's a lot of stuff they've done which has done absolutely nothing for me, but everything feels well thought out. Everything feels like it's got a plan in mind. Everything feels like it's just workable in the long term. And yeah, like the fact that you can literally sit here and piece out bit by bit what you think that Cody thing will look like, and there's still loads of different unpredictable elements to it, is testament to how well they book it, how logical it is, but also how much you can do within the confines of that. So AEW are good at booking professional wrestling. That's the answer to that question.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that the better theory than this is the Dudley Boys 4 Horsemen Cody MJF conspiracy theory. Go and check that out. It's all over their Twitter. Basically, they're saying that Cody is going to be a red herring to be part of the 4 Horsemen. He's effectively going to be the Sting of the 4 Horsemen, or the Dusty of the 4 Horsemen, for example. And in reality, MJF
I can't think which one of those is going to work much better.
Yes, exactly. And in reality, it's going to be MJF alongside the likes of FTR and maybe Shawn Spears, for example, making this new 4 Horsemen. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and just a heads up, really, our best friend, Mike Chioda. He is on Talk Is Jericho's podcast, which I do believe is out tomorrow. Go and check it out. Big things involving Mike Chioda and What Culture Wrestling coming soon. That's all we can say about that for now. But let us know your thoughts on all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys previewing SmackDown later on, and myself, Adam Cleary, and Phil Chambers, all things going well, we'll be doing Wrestle Culture later with a huge surprise when it comes to the quiz. Honestly, don't miss it. What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from. Let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Adam Cleary's face. Follow us all on Twitter there. You can follow Adam Cleary at
Adam Cleary, CLERY.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all, as I said, at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Adam Cleary. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.